Hey, welcome back everybody. Happy Sunday. Hope we're having a wonderful kind of end of the week and the weekend here, and hopefully we're getting ready for next week. And with that said, we've got a pretty active week ahead here in the weather department, really starting yesterday, going through the rest of this weekend and into early next week, and potentially getting active again about a week out from now into next weekend. So again, a lot to discuss in today's video. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. Like the video if you like it, comment, let me know where you're watching from, and consider sharing the video with anyone that you think might find some use in it here. As again, a lot of people are going to be impacted by many different types of weather here, from snowfall to severe weather to some flooding to some high winds to some very spring-like weather to some very cold weather. So again, we're really going to cover all the bases in today's video and give you the latest information. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and jump on into it because, again, there is a lot to discuss, and I don't want to keep you waiting any longer than I have to. So, taking a look at satellite imagery here, again, much like what we saw yesterday, we've kind of got this stream from the Pacific Jet making it all the way into the Gulf of Mexico, and that is leading to a big-time plume of moisture over much of the eastern and southeastern half of the country. And at the same time, we've got a trough that has kind of worked its way into the Rockies, and that has led to low pressure now developing really right over the heart of Texas here, and that is bringing some active weather as well. So a couple different pieces of atmospheric energy and disturbances working together here to create a pretty active pattern for much of the eastern half of the country here. And taking a look at our watches, warnings, and advisories, nothing too crazy right now in terms of widespread impacts, but that will change over the next couple of days. Again, a lot of rain falling here through the mid-Atlantic and the southeast on this Sunday, and even some rain and snow falling back into Texas and Oklahoma, with even some severe weather kind of working on into eastern Texas and into portions of kind of northern Louisiana today. So again, very active for a lot of folks here, and that's going to continue. Now, kind of zooming in and taking a look at these watches, warnings, and advisories a little bit more, we have a big plume of winter weather advisories here from the Ozarks down through Oklahoma and back into the Texas Panhandle. Again, a lot of folks out here likely to see some wintry weather and winter storm warnings in effect for portions here, as well as, let me regather myself here into sections of eastern New Mexico. Don't know why that was so difficult to get out, and then into the Texas Panhandle as well. Also seeing some of those winter storm warnings. And then at the time of recording this, and actually let me move this all the way ahead into present time, we do have some strong storms working on into eastern Texas and northern Louisiana, and that will continue today. So again, a severe weather threat here, and just looking at some of these, very impressive kind of look on some of these cells, indicating some supercellular kind of structure there. So again, going to be a dangerous day in the severe weather department as well. And then I'll also mention up into the northeast, as the map kind of takes its time loading here, we do have some winter storm watches now in effect here for much of Pennsylvania, southern New York State from Albany, even down into kind of the Binghamton area, the Catskills under this winter storm watch, the Green Mountain National Forest there into Vermont, just about all of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island as well under this winter storm watch for, again, a likely winter storm on the way going into really this coming week, at least the first half of it. All right. Now, talking about the overall general setup, and then we'll kind of dive into certain impacts here, region by region. Again, as I mentioned, we have this trough kind of that has worked its way out into the Rockies here, and showing it pretty easy on our map here with this kind of blue area and these isobars kinking back southward here, or off of this low pressure, an extension of low pressure, which is all that the trough really is. And again, that has led to some cyclogenesis, or just low pressure forming here over Texas, as I showed you earlier. Now, over the east, we still have this ridge in effect, so again, this has led to a lot of very warm temperatures kind of riding up the eastern seaboard here, and that is going to lead to another very spring-like day today for a lot of folks here into the eastern half of the country, and we'll definitely continue to watch that throughout the next couple of days as this evolves and the storm system continues to strengthen. Now, the first big-time threat starting really right now is that severe weather threat, and as I mentioned, we already have some of these strong storms working on into Louisiana and into eastern Texas. That will continue through today, and even more areas could get in on severe weather as far east as Birmingham, Jackson, Mobile, and even into the Biloxi area. Even Montgomery could see some strong storms this afternoon. But really all points in between, from Birmingham down through Jackson, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Houston, and kind of surrounding areas, again, could see some strong storms this afternoon. All right, so starting out here over the South Central Plains, this is kind of where the storm system currently is. We'll track out the next couple of days out this way, and then we'll move into the southeast Ohio River Valley, and then into up into the northeast and talk about the winter storm impacts there. And then we'll talk about kind of a week from now another storm signal on the way, and then I'll let you get to the rest of your Sunday. So here we go, Sunday afternoon here. As you'll notice, we've kind of got two main threats here. One, we've got these cells, again, these kind of supercells even kind of developing here into eastern Texas through much of Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and southern Alabama. Gotta watch these for rotation today. We're likely going to see a couple tornadoes. In fact, by the time you're watching this, this threat may have already been upgraded to an enhanced risk. Would not surprise me. But just know, models hinting at some very strong storms here over much of that kind of risk area that we talked about today. Now, snowfall also a concern here into the Texas and Oklahoma Panhandle. Again, going to see some pretty good snowfall rates throughout this afternoon. That will continue. Just good old-fashioned rain here for kind of Little Rock back towards Oklahoma City. Not really any severe weather or snowy weather. You're kind of in the nicer side of the storm, although still kind of dreary and rainy, but much less severe. Now, as we go into tonight, about the time the sun is setting, again, still look at these very strong storms here into this kind of warm sector from Louisiana into Mississippi and Alabama. Again, could produce very strong straight line winds, some isolated tornadoes, definitely not out of the question, and maybe even a little bit of large hail, but really the tornadoes and wind threat are going to be the bigger deal here, I think, into these kind of surrounding areas today. At the same time, going into tonight, still dealing with this kind of pocket of some snow falling over Texas and Oklahoma, at least northern Texas, and into kind of southwestern Oklahoma here. All right, now moving this further ahead into time, again, overnight tonight, getting into about the midnight hour here. Again, still snowing, kind of this pocket of snow now working over Oklahoma City, maybe changing from some rain to some quick snow overnight tonight. That kind of continues to work on through, eventually changing to some snow over the Ozarks into the Tulsa area for our Monday morning, and that quick band of snow continues to kind of work on out of here by the time we get into Monday afternoon here. You'll notice about 1 o'clock, still snowing over the Ozarks, while we are clearing out over Texas and Oklahoma, and eventually all of this unsettled weather clears out by the time we get into our overnight Monday and waking up Tuesday morning here. Much nicer conditions in store for the south central United States. Now, snowfall totals here to come. Again, this is as of about 7 o'clock this morning, so kind of, maybe cut down whatever you've seen from this morning onward from these totals. But either way, again, where that snow is still likely to fall, especially here, I think, over central Oklahoma, getting into tonight and into tomorrow morning, and then back up into the Ozarks of northern Arkansas and specifically southern Missouri there. But again, could still see some snow left over here into the Texas Panhandle. But again, most of this has probably already fallen by the time you're watching this video. All right, getting into tomorrow, again, another day of severe weather, and this storm system continuing to strengthen as it moves off to the southeast, and we've already got a slight risk of severe weather for Birmingham, Atlanta, Augusta, Columbia, South Carolina, even up into the southern suburbs of Charlotte, down into Greenville, Spartanburg, Clemson, even down into Charleston, Macon, and I could keep on listing cities here, but even down into the Florida Panhandle could see some strong storms tomorrow. And I think that's definitely going to be a threat we need to watch. Much like today, isolated tornadoes are not out of the question. Some strong straight line winds, definitely not out of the question. And that'll be a big kind of theme for tomorrow that we have to watch out for here. Now, one thing that's not going to really be a concern too much in the southeast here is winter weather. So I know it's been a real theme this winter, as it hasn't been very wintry, at least in the precipitation department. Now, it has been cold from time to time, but again, not really any snow in this part of the country that we've seen, at least outside of kind of Tennessee, Arkansas, and sections of northern Mississippi and Alabama, which really cashed in on those winter storms back into January. But for us folks here in the Carolinas and Georgia and Florida, obviously as well, not really much has happened. But we'll continue to monitor that, and again, we got to get through the severe weather. So today, again, more just a rainy day for Georgia and the Carolinas, but again, here is that line of strong damaging storm potential here from Louisiana through Mississippi, Alabama, and even into the kind of western tip of the Florida Panhandle there. Could see some strong storms overnight tonight. Now here we go, going later on into tonight, not too much of a severe weather threat. This is getting into about midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, but we do have a big shield of rain. So if you happen to be a very early bird here and you have to commute at about 3 o'clock in the morning here, definitely expect a big shield of rain from Florence, kind of coastal Carolina there, into Charlotte, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, Atlanta, back towards Birmingham. Again, this big shield of rain working on through here, and we'll definitely watch that for maybe some isolated flooding impacts. And that continues into tomorrow morning. Here we go, about the time we're waking up. Just a lot of rain, mainly for most people here in the southeast, from Alabama all the way up the I-85 and I-20 corridor into the Carolinas. Again, likely to see some big-time rain. Now, the severe weather threat tomorrow, it's going to be a bit more conditional than today, and we'll have to really watch the trends on the models. Right now, some of our models are indicating that the threat might be a little bit further south, so the latest high-resolution rapid refresh here, most of the severe weather threat would likely be into southern Georgia, the Florida Panhandle, and low country of South Carolina, with more of just a rain event along the I-85 corridor. We'll watch that, but again, either way, if you're in that slight risk right now for severe weather, just know that this can change. And the experts in Norman definitely think that you have a chance to see some severe weather tomorrow. So we're watching that. And eventually going into Monday afternoon, just a real big shield of rain here by the time we get into the evening hours. And again, it's going to be raining pretty good here for a lot of folks, I think, into the Carolinas, Georgia, even into Tennessee, a place I haven't talked about too much. Not much of a severe weather threat there, but definitely could see some pretty rainy conditions tomorrow afternoon. Now, another thing I will mention here is look at the snow on the backside. Again, there's going to be a very small band. We talked about that back towards Oklahoma City and into the Ozarks. As we get into our kind of Monday evening here, that band of snow now working in through Paducah, the Evansville, Indiana area into extreme southern Illinois here. Could see some snow, and even right along the Ohio River Valley, I think through Kentucky, again, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, could see some snow out of that there into overnight kind of Monday here and into the early morning hours of Tuesday, before eventually all of this rain precipitation kind of clears on out of here by the time we're all waking up Tuesday morning, and we should have a much nicer Tuesday afternoon through much of the southeast. And taking a look at those snowfall totals, again, it won't be a lot, but there will definitely be a band here, I think, of snow, kind of into southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and into kind of the heart of Ohio here, especially kind of into central Ohio. There could pick up a quick couple inches of snow. Down here into these areas, this is kind of your question mark zone. Some of the models here showing more snow than others. National Weather Service right now going with not too much into the Ohio River Valley of kind of Kentucky here, but don't be surprised to see snowfall nonetheless here going into Monday evening, and that could stick, especially on those higher elevated surfaces, maybe on top of your car, on top of some tree branches, but likely conditions on the roadways should be, not really too impacted, and the bigger impacts, again, being here into kind of central Ohio, and again, could see a quick, really good dumping of snow here into southern Missouri as well, where we have some elevation helping us out here, and some cooler temperatures. So again, National Weather Service here going with isolated spots of half a foot. That might be a little overdone in my opinion. I think maybe 3 inches is a little more likely through that area, but definitely buy what's going on up here in Ohio. About 1 to 3 inches of snow here, right through kind of central Ohio and up into eastern Ohio, where we could even see 3 to 5 inches of snow. So again, pretty snowy conditions up there for some folks. Alrighty, now let's kind of talk about the Northeast a little bit, another area that's definitely going to see some active weather out of this storm system, and it's going to be a bit more snowy up here than other parts of the country. The Southeast, again, more of a severe weather threat. The Ohio River Valley, more of just kind of a rainy threat with some definitely isolated spots of some snow there. But the Northeast, this is where we're going to have some real winter storm potential. And we'll start this off here Monday night. This is about the time the sun is setting. You'll notice still mostly calm through much of the Northeast, but here comes that shield of precipitation out of the Southwest and eventually kind of working on up into the region. Now here we go. This is about midnight on Tuesday morning here, so overnight Monday into Tuesday, and you'll notice now this precipitation running into that cold air, and we've got snow breaking out through much of central and northern Pennsylvania, southern New York State, again into Ohio there, right into the heart where, we talked about some snowfall totals there. And eventually, by the time we're waking up Tuesday morning, an all-out winter storm is underway for much of the Northeast. Now, this rain snow line obviously going to be a pretty big time deal we have to talk about. I think starting out here, Philadelphia, much of New Jersey, New York City, coastal Connecticut, coastal Rhode Island, and even Cape Cod, likely going to just be good old-fashioned cold rain here. Areas to the north of there, though, places like Scranton, Binghamton, Albany, Worcester, if that's how you say it, or, whatever. If you're from Massachusetts, you know what I mean. Sorry, I'm from South Carolina, so I'm going to butcher the name. So, again, sorry, but You get the point. Hartford, Providence, some other cities I could probably say a little bit better here, and even into Boston, likely really snow for most of this event here. And as we go into Tuesday afternoon, this storm just continues to crank up, and you'll notice that rain-snow line is actually going to kind of begin to work its way back south a little bit as cold air kind of ejects into the storm system here. You'll notice that rain-snow line now trying to crash back down towards New York City later in the afternoon on Tuesday. Northern New Jersey getting in on some snow. Philadelphia could change from rain to snow here. Maybe even some snow here on the backside into portions of kind of western Maryland there and eastern portions of West Virginia. Sorry, states are hard sometimes. But again, another big thing I think we need to watch here Tuesday afternoon are these snowfall rates. Again, this is going to be throwing a lot of Atlantic moisture back into this cold air. And there's going to be pockets here into portions of kind of Connecticut here, Massachusetts, kind of that circled area on your map. They're going to see big time heavy snowfall rates. Excuse me, I wouldn't be surprised to see snowfall rates of 1 to 3 inches an hour, and if you get that for a couple hours, obviously that's going to pile up pretty quickly here, and this is going to continue throughout Tuesday afternoon here. You'll notice by the time we get into about 1 o'clock Tuesday, that rain-snow line now crashing all the way to the coastline. We've got snow falling in New York City, all of Connecticut, all of Rhode Island, basically all of New Jersey getting in on some light snow, Philly, Scranton seeing some snow on the backside here, and still just dealing with a big-time shield of snow up here from Boston up through Rhode Island and into New Hampshire, Vermont, even southern Maine, getting in on some really good snowfall rates here during the afternoon on Tuesday. Now, again, could still be holding on to some rain here into Nantucket and Cape Cod, but don't worry. Again, I think that rain-snow line will likely crash back down here on the backside. And by the time we're getting into later Tuesday evening, about the time the sun is setting, again, some really nice just back-end moderate snowfall to light snowfall here through Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, into Massachusetts and Rhode Island before eventually the storm system pulls away overnight Tuesday and into Wednesday, and things really begin to clear on out. Now, discussing some of these snowfall totals, I'm going to show you a couple different models and then kind of the blend of all the models, and we'll talk about what I think is the most likely. We'll start with the GFS here, and again, GFS has a bullseye kind of into northern Pennsylvania, southern New York State, and then another one here kind of up into the border between Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire. That makes sense to me. Again, isolated spots there, half a foot, and kind of showing up on this model, and then lesser amounts, again, as you get kind of down towards Philadelphia, Long Island, more of a rainstorm. That also makes sense to me. Now, going into the European model, I think this is a little bit more realistic, and you'll notice these totals are really bumped up a little bit more. We've got a much wider band of about half a foot to 8 inches of snow here from Massachusetts into southern New Hampshire, Vermont, and kind of into this circled corridor on your map. I think this is much more realistic, and you'll even notice some of these heavier snowfall totals getting down into northern New Jersey, into Long Island. Again, I think it'll be rain for part of the event here, but on the backside, they're going to have plenty of leftover precipitation with that cold air that at least the grassy surfaces are likely to pick up a couple inches of snow here, even if the roadways themselves stay relatively fine. And also, again, into northern Connecticut, northern Rhode Island, and right through much of Massachusetts, half a foot to 8 inches of snow here on the European model. That, again, makes sense to me. Now, this, again, I think is the most realistic scenario. We kind of put all the models together, a real bullseye of near a foot of snow over much of Massachusetts here into the Catskills, into southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, extreme northern Connecticut and Rhode Island, back into northern Pennsylvania, southern New York State, again, and even up into Maine here. A big corridor of half a foot to a foot of snow, I think, is very likely here. And again, lesser totals down here towards Philadelphia and New York City, where a dusting upwards of an inch or two is possible, especially in New York City, I think, compared to Philadelphia. And, again, we will watch that here as we continue to move ahead. But just know, this is going to be a pretty big-time storm for a lot of folks. All right, temperatures. Again, this afternoon, it's going to be warm for a lot of people here. You'll notice the kind of red colors on your map here showing up, indicating above average temperatures outside of the desert southwest where that trough is in place. But these warm temperatures continue even into tomorrow afternoon, into the southeast, into the northeast. But eventually, as the storm system cranks up, those below average temperatures kind of take back over here. And here we go, Tuesday afternoon, much more average than kind of what we're seeing today for a lot of folks. And then we eventually get kind of below average temperatures here going into Wednesday afternoon, at least along along the eastern seaboard. Still warm back into the Midwest, but all signs are, and a lot of models hinting at this kind of cool down here. You'll notice in the long run here, going into next week, looks like a pretty stout boundary is going to set up here. We could once again see warm southeastern temperatures while we get a block of cold air here into the north. And that, I think, likely is going to help to form another storm system here that eventually could bring some active weather and colder air on the backside here about 7 to 10 days from now. And a lot of models hinting at this here. Our latest GFS ensemble members, you'll notice, again, here we go into next week, and we've got a southern slider here, or just kind of a piece of energy into the subtropical jet, and at the same time, we've got cold air up into the north. These two could work in tandem, and again, I think we're going to get a boundary somewhere in between with kind of cold, snowy weather on the north side, and once again, more tropical, rainy weather on the south side, much like what we're seeing with our current storm system. So, again, this might not be the end of it. We could see another similar setup going into next weekend. And just to show you here, our latest European model, I think, does a pretty good job at showing this. Here we go into next Saturday. Again, look at this boundary. We've got very kind of cold air mass to the north and a much warmer kind of subtropical or tropical air mass to the south. So, could be a rainy kind of weekend in the southeast and maybe potentially a snowy weekend once again up into the Ohio River Valley and into the northeast. GFS model also shows a pretty similar story here. Here we go, that boundary setting up, rain to the south through the southeast, and potentially, again, some overlapping of that cold air and moisture. The GFS is a little bit further south with that. You'll notice the system much more suppressed, that cold air much further south, and that boundary further south. So we'll have to watch, obviously, where this sets up, where do the cold air and where do the warm air meet. But if we look at our European ensembles, greatest chance of seeing snow up into this coming weekend. I think this makes a lot of sense to me, kind of right into the Ohio River Valley, where we will have much more kind of cold air here. And then again, that precipitation coming from the south could help to kind of link up the two, and we could see some snow. Some ensemble members have been hinting at maybe this tries to get down into the mid-Atlantic and southeast. Right now, we'll definitely watch it, but again, I think the Ohio River Valley is a much more likely area to see snow out of this pattern going into kind of next week here. So we'll definitely watch that, and I'll keep you updated. So again, I appreciate y'all watching. It means the world to me. And again, as always, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. Like the video if you like it, and comment. Let me know what you're seeing out there and what you're expecting going into this week, and especially into the end of winter. Alrighty, hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you all tomorrow.